Now, by any means, I'm not claustrophobic or anything like really in terms of not being able to stay in concealed spaces. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I always would like, you know, cover myself up in a blanket and sleep. And like, I mean, full on covered. And yeah, it would be hard to breathe once in a blue moon. But at the same time, though, for some reason, I actually like semi enjoy just being in small spaces. But today's story is actually a time where I actually did not like being in the small space. And well, even though it wasn't as small, it was really concerning. And the way the story goes is outstanding. And you guys will want to watch to the end because trust me, you don't want to miss this. And on top of that, only 78% of you guys are actually subscribed to the channel compared to the 21% that actually are. So consider those 21% actually superior and always going to be able to get the Devil's Tango because they subscribed. And so should you. Now, let's get straight to the story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another crazy story. So this one actually takes place back when I was in high school. Now, if you guys don't know, basically back in high school, there was just one chick in my school who was always like, well, let's say rich in a way. She was actually like wealthy rich. And I'm not saying this in terms of like, you know, I was a gold digger in this circumstance, but in a way, like she had money. She would walk into school with like, you know, a really nice car and kind of just flex her way into anything she wanted. Hell, sometimes she would bring up to teachers how her daddy could literally buy her out. Like I don't know what that means, but like cool. And of course me, you know, I'm just that basic kid that really didn't have like anything special going for him. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a nice sports car, and don't get me wrong, as well as when I want to look charming, like I can do it. So one time I remember like I walked into class looking all good and stuff, and I generally didn't look ugly. Like in a way, I actually looked good. And on top of that, I just want to say, and this is a hard fact for all of us that all of us can agree, when all of us go shopping, the next day we always wear the outfit to school. Like there's no way and no way how you guys don't wear the newest outfit that you guys recently just bought the next day when you just got it. Because yeah, I don't know, it makes us feel nice and shows people that we actually have money to buy new clothes. Anyways, like I was saying though, so this girl, she was, you know, in my class and she was just, you know, taking a seat, you know, getting ready for class. I think it was our socials class. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Like I don't really keep track of my socials classes or any class to being matter because, well, I don't care enough for school. Let's be real here. But I remember she sat down and we were just like looking around and stuff. And I remember I kept looking at her, how do I put this? Peach. I kept looking at her peach and, you know, working on my work and then looking at my teacher. And I just kept getting distracted. Now, reminder, I was a really active high schooler. I think that's the best way to put it. I know it sounds really weird saying that, but like at the same time though, you know, at first when I was like, you know, trying to be like, just don't look, like whatever. It was easy. But at the same time though, for some reason, she kept looking back at me as well. And she looked at me and she knew I was looking right at her peach. And she like kind of like started like going off the side of the seat to the point where she was like spread it. You know, it sounds weird to put it in a video context, but you guys get what I mean. And at that point, I knew like she was like semi interested in me. And I guess the new shirt I got from H&M actually worked out. Please sponsor me. I get the ladies from it and do the Devil's Tango. Anyway, sorry. Back to what I was saying. So me and her, we started like kind of like talking when, you know, we were at that part of class where you usually have free time to just do whatever the heck you want. And she kind of walked over to me and sat down with me. And, you know, she was explaining this cool like pool that her daddy got recently. I don't know why I said daddy, but, you know, just deal with it. And she wanted me to come over and check out her new pool. Now, me, I don't care enough for pools. Don't get me wrong. Like, hell, I can't really swim the best. Like, I can swim. Don't get me wrong. I can swim if I really need to. But in reality, I can't swim that well. But she invited me over. You know, she said she was bringing some friends maybe. And at that point, when she said she was bringing other people, I'm like, sure, why not? So obviously, you know, I went home. I, you know, got my things. I drove over to her house with my amazing Silica. I missed that car to death, by the way. And when I got there, I remember I walked straight to the backyard and her dad was there. Her rich dad. Like, think of like meeting like a really just like comb backed, like rich old dude that like you see in like those sugar mama shows. Yeah, like he was one of those guys. And you know, don't get me wrong, her daughter was semi-hot, I guess, but their house was like massive and it was crazy. I remember when I walked back there, he looked at me instantly, was like, huh, okay, and just walked inside. Like he didn't even like want me to introduce myself, which I mean, fair enough. Like I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really look like, you know, I was rich in any way, shape, or form. Like maybe if I had a Jaguar or something, maybe he'd be like, oh, like look at this guy. But I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I remember we got to the pool and we started talking. She had these two long seats. We started laying down and kind of just started talking about like school and how dumb and stuff it was. But the main thing she kept talking about was how every girl's outfit was literally like cheap. And I talked about literally Super Mario Brothers. Like I don't get it. Like it was clear we had differences. Okay, it was very clear me and her had a lot of differences. But then I don't know what started happening. You know, even though we weren't having the best conversation, me and her got closer and closer. And, you know, one minute we were making out left and right. And then she told me, hey, like, you want to go inside the pool house? Now, at this point, I was kind of worried because I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I'm going to be honest, I never entered a pool house ever until that day. So I remember me and her, you know, she started like grabbing my wrist and walked me over there and we got inside. When we got inside, she was kind of like, you know, leaning on me. And of course, one thing led to another and we did the devil's tango. And, you know, that went on for like, I want to say half an hour. But let's just say things got too quiet outside to the point where the rich daddy, we would say, came out to the pool and saw no one was there. So what ended up happening was that she started panicking and she's like, oh, like, let me come out of here and then I'll just say you left early. At first, I was kind of iffy because I still had my car in her front yard. But I guess, like, you know, it's not like he was going to notice because apparently he worked from home. So she went out and she said, oh, like, Baba left early. Like, he was like, had to go early and he left his car here because he said like he didn't feel well enough to drive. Like, bruh, what? I wasn't drinking. Like, I didn't do anything, but I guess she just kind of made that excuse so my car would be there. And of course, the dad was fine with it, but then he saw the pool house unlocked and he walked over there and locked it. He literally locked the pool house when I was in it. Like, and I'm not talking like, you know, key lock. Like, I'm talking full on lock. And at that point, I was stuck in there. I didn't know what to do. It was getting dark and, you know, I'm not even gonna lie. I think I was stuck in there for like 3 hours watching Jacksepticeye until I eventually realized that like I need to get out of here. My phone wasn't gonna die and I'm not gonna lie, like I remember like calling my mom and my mom's like, oh, where are you? Yeah, this is a situation I don't really want to explain to my mom. So I remember I just hung up and I called my buddy. I called my buddy Jer and Jer was like, yo, like what's going on? I told Jer how I was stuck in the rich girl's pool house and I'm not gonna lie, Jer was kind of just laughing the whole entire time. So I remember he snuck over and literally jumped the fence into the backyard and he brought like these bolt cutters, cut me out, and basically I got out of there. I remember I ran up to my car and I instantly just turned on my car and my car, like when I turned it on, it made like somewhat of a loud noise. And I remember just seeing her dad of the rich girl just like looking outside the window, seeing me come out of his backyard and into his car. And let's just say I looked over, I looked back at the road and I booted it. Like I left there, dude. Like I did not want to stay there any longer than I should have. And long story short, you know, even though I ended up doing the devil's tango and me and her weren't really the best, all I'm gonna say is stay away from pool houses or things that could actually get locked really with like actual locks. Because trust me, you don't want to be in a concealed space like that. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for the video. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening to this whole story. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for all the support. I promise I'll be on here more, posting more stories. But like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories. Peace. Now, I've been trapped in many places. And I'm not gonna lie to you, back when I was in middle school, I ended up getting trapped inside a Costco freezer. Like, you know those giant freezers that hold like a bunch of frozen foods? Yeah, I ended up being trapped in there with my crush. And what ends up happening was insane. But before we get into the story, make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do and makes me be able to tell more stories to you guys just like this one. But other than that, let's just jump straight into this embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome to a really crazy story time. So today's story all takes place back in my grade 7 year. Now in grade 7, you guys may know I had a crush, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a real helpless romantic, and me falling in love in middle school was so common and so just on the regular. And I remember it got to the point where I remember one time it was a Saturday and me and my family, we had to go grocery shopping. Me and my family, we ended up basically all getting inside the van and we ended up heading towards Costco. Costco is usually like the go-to place. It's like the glory of all grocery foods. And like, honestly, the fact that you need like a premium VIP membership to go inside in some way makes me feel pretty special. Like, I'm 22 years old now and me seeing that, honestly, I'm kind of jealous. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember I ended up going to Costco, and when I got there, me and my parents were walking around just picking up groceries that we needed, getting my favorite fruit snacks and just doing our thing. But then out of nowhere, I recognized that I saw my crush's mom walking around in some aisles that we were passing through. Now at first I didn't think much of it. I'm like, oh, that's my crush's mom, that's awesome. But then out of nowhere, I remember I started looking towards the middle part of Costco where, you know, they usually have clothing and board games and books, and I ended up seeing my crush looking at the book aisle and basically started reading the Percy Jackson books at Costco. At that moment, I was in shock. I'm like, oh my goodness, my crush is here. Okay, wait, I gotta talk to her. I gotta talk to her. This is the only time I get to talk to her out of school, and like, it'll be cool. Like, we're both Costco VIP members. Not that that matters, but you know what? I gotta talk to her. And me being super nervous, I ended up basically trying to force myself to just go up to her and go talk to her. But then my dad ended up calling me saying, Baba, can you come here? I need to talk to you. I need to know which milk you want. From there, I remember I ended up basically heading over to my dad, and we ended up going towards the freezer section, where it's the coldest part of Costco, where basically they keep all their frozen foods and stuff, and basically like the fridges and everything. Just the cold side of Costco that most kids don't like going through. And I remember as me and him were walking around, I noticed that my crush also ended up being in that area as well, because her parents wanted her opinion on something as well. Very interesting how parents ask for the kid's opinion, which in reality, if I had to really think about it, I could still survive on chocolate milk and grilled cheese sandwiches. I mean, it's nice to have options, right? And at that moment, I remember my crush noticed me as we were both in the freezer section, and she looked at me and she's like, oh, hey, Baba. I ended up not knowing what to say, so I ended up standing there shaking, saying, hey. Yeah, I even like deepened my voice. I was in middle school. Like, kids in middle school don't have deep voices, unless you do. If you do, then comment down below. But still, like, it's just super bizarre how that all happened, and I felt super embarrassed. So the whole time, knowing at that point that I basically blew it, I ended up just basically looking down on myself and thinking, wow, I gotta be smarter with my life. I remember later on, I want to say like 30 minutes later, Costco was closing. It was getting late, and for some reason Costco was closing earlier than usual, and everyone started heading to like basically the cashiers, and it was flooded, and my parents were like, you know, about to get their stuff ready to load up for the cashier to scan. But then my dad forgot something in the freezer section. He ended up looking at me saying, can you go to the freezer section and pick up the frozen food that I need? I ended up looking at him, shaking my head, and to be honest, like, he wanted like something, I don't remember what, because obviously it was so long ago, and he ended up needing something from the freezer section. So me being the fast, young, agile, amazing, super strong kid that I was, okay, well, I wasn't that good, but you know what I mean, I ended up running towards the freezer section, acting like I was on a mission. And when I got to the freezer section, I ended up seeing my crush there also picking up something that she needed last minute. Now I remember when I looked at her, I was in shock. I'm like, bro, it's destiny. This is my second chance. I can do this. And right as she saw me, she ended up walking up to me saying, oh, hey, Baba, what are you getting? Oh, I'm just getting this thing right here. Wait, what are you getting? I don't know. I'm trying to find it. I don't know what it exactly it looks like. And I'm not gonna lie to you right now as I'm telling the story, I don't exactly remember what she wanted, but at the same time, I ended up helping her find something, or try to find something. And me and her, we started looking around the freezer to basically see if it's there. Now, reminder, it was around the time Costco was closing, so obviously workers weren't around, nothing to ask, because they're all prepping to basically close down the store. And me, I remember I looked at her and said, yo, if we don't see it here, maybe we should like go check like the back area of the freezer, like where the staff go. Yeah, like where the staff people go and stuff. That way, like, maybe we could find it there and just take it to the front. Okay, sure, lead the way. Me and her, we started basically heading towards the back of the freezer room, because like there's the main freezer, and then behind it there's like another freezer that, like, you know, holds extra storage so they can quickly grab and put it in the front. And me, I ended up going back there with her, and we started looking around, but then one thing led to another. Out of nowhere, we ended up hearing a loud thud. Now, when we heard this loud thud, we didn't know what it was. We were really scared, and to be honest, the whole freezer ended up going dark after like 2 seconds of hearing that thud. And at that moment, I knew that something was wrong. Now, this is where the story gets really scary, because I remember me and her, we ended up heading towards the freezer exit, but it was pitch black in there. And me and her, we were holding hands, basically making sure that we knew where we were. And we ended up basically getting to the point where we were getting really cold. So since we were getting really cold, me and her being trapped in there, we ended up basically getting really close together. And I said, hey, like, stay close with me and like cuddle me so we can stay warm. We ended up doing this, and we ended up being in that freezer for longer than 20 minutes. As crazy as it is, I have no idea how we survived, but 20 minutes is a very long time. And I remember me and her, we started like freaking out and stuff, and we felt like we were never gonna go home. I remember she looked at me, and me trying to be the man I was, I looked at her and said, don't worry, one way or another, I'll get us out of here. And when I said that, I don't know why, but she found this very romantic, and I guess that was her opportunity, where she ended up actually kissing me in the lips, and we ended up making out. We ended up making out in the Costco freezer, and I don't know what to tell you. Even though we were in the Costco freezer, my heart was warmer than ever. This felt like the perfect part of a movie where I just ended up getting the girl. I remember after we ended up making out in there and basically cuddling the whole time, we ended up hearing over the announcements,
Bubba, where are you? Your parents are looking up front. Can you please head up front? Thank you.
And I didn't know what to do because obviously I couldn't do anything. So I ended up basically just deciding to just use all my power and basically start slamming on the freezer door as much as I could until one of the workers heard me. Luckily, there was some guy that was wearing headphones that ended up hearing me slamming the freezer door, and he ended up opening it, noticing that there were two kids in there basically freaking out. Me and her, we ended up basically walking out of the freezer together, and right as we walk out, we both sprint to the front, and our parents ended up holding us, realizing we were super cold, and Costco ended up basically giving us gift cards for the inconvenience. I will say, it is kind of crazy seeing my parents be more happy about a gift card than their son being alive, but hey, what can I say? My parents got a gift card. Like, I can't blame them. I love gift cards as well. Also, not to mention, after that whole freezer situation, the next day at school, when I ended up seeing my crush, she acted like nothing ever happened, which kind of ruined my whole, like, you know, romantic scene and everything. And, you know, I guess I, in reality, didn't get the girl at the end, but hey, what can I say? Just another embarrassing moment. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's insane story. Make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.